Okay, let's look to the other game that's on ESPN on Wednesday night. The Lakers continue their Eastern trip, playing in one of the hottest teams in the East Arena at Indiana on Wednesday. Lakers lost to Orlando. Terrific game from Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, the type of game that those guys were combining for early in this season when they were really flying high. We haven't seen it as much, but take note, the Magic are starting to get their feet underneath them. Still not sure about how trustworthy their offense is, but we'll keep an eye on that. The Lakers have now lost 7 of 10. LeBron has come back, and they've dropped both games since he come back from the groin injury. And look, I hate to always default to this because I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like every time a team is playing well, I look at this and it's always the case. And every time a team is playing poorly, I look at this and it's always the case. It's all about the defense. In the NBA, your streaks are almost always predicated on your defense. When the Lakers were rolling and getting up to the 2 seed, it was because they were defending maybe better than we thought was possible.
Yeah.
On this 10-game stretch, regardless of who has been in the lineup, their defense, and I'm watching the people that cover the Lakers and the people that I respect their opinions on the Lakers, and they're focused on the offense because they're seeing some clunkiness there. They're seeing at times where there's still a little bit of a trade-off between who's going to have the ball between Austin Reeves, LeBron, and Luka, because all 3 of them are best with the ball in their hands. And I agree with that. I think that's got to get ironed out. However, in this 10-game stretch where the Lakers have lost leverage and slipped out of into the 4 spot, and quite frankly, they're fortunate that their drop here has been softened because Nikola Jokic has missed 5 games and the Nuggets have lost ground. The Nuggets lost a game to the Bulls. Shout out to the Bulls going 4-2 on their 6-game West Coast trip. However, no Aaron Gordon and no Jokic on Monday, but whatever. Lakers have lost 7 of 10. They're 23rd in defense in those 10 games, Bontemps. If they don't defend, I don't care how many points Luka scores, they're not going to be around long. If they do defend, because Luka, LeBron, and Reeves, they could make a run. I really do think it comes down to that in a lot of ways.
I do appreciate, McMahon, that the guy whose name on the pod just says, if you guard people, you're probably going to win games. That's his underlying philosophy on basketball. I agree.
I'm admitting to myself, it's very surface level.
Advanced stats, like stop people, you got a better chance.
That's right.
He's not.
No, it's true.
He's not wrong.
He's not. In this case. No, he's not at all. It's just funny.
You probably shouldn't be giving up that kind of offensive performance to the Magic, with all due respect.
Look, they gave up 146 to the Bulls on Saturday, which we talked about. 19 3-pointers given up. And the Magic, as we've talked about all year, can't hit the broadside of a barn, and they went 15 for 40. So again, I think some of this is some progression to the mean, and the Lakers playing this defense where they're just going to let teams going to let mediocre to bad shooters fire away from 3. Well, at some point, guys are going to hit open shots, and they're giving up a lot of open shots, and that's coming back the other way. The other thing is, too, like we've talked about, I think J.J. Redick deserves a ton of credit for getting these guys to play as hard consistently as they have been. But if you have a team with a bunch of guys that can't really play defense, and the way you have to play defense is to play insanely hard all the time, there is a shelf life on how long you can do that, especially when you've had to play a really difficult stretch of schedule where they had all these compressed games backed up against each other. They've had some injuries. Like, teams are getting a little more familiar with what the Lakers have been doing. Like, all that's to be said. It's why I was always skeptical that the Lakers were not actually a team that was a top 5 defensive team or the best defensive team or whatever their numbers were during that stretch. Could they be the 12th best defensive team? Sure. Something like that. Maybe they're fringe of the top 10. Maybe they're 15th.
Well, I think we always qualified it by saying if the Lakers can defend like this, ...
Well, no. I know. I'm just saying in general. Like, I think they could be a okay defensive team. I don't think they're equipped to be an elite defensive team. I think when they get in the playoffs and everybody's playing insanely hard all the time, I think some of the advantages they've had at that end will start to ebb away a little bit. But look, like you said, the best thing they've got going for them is the way this is all played out. You've had Memphis go off a cliff with injuries. You mentioned Jokic missing time. We're going to talk about the Wolves losing again. They've dropped 2 or 3 games they easily could have or should have won over the last few days. So even though they've gone 7-3 in their last 10, they probably should have gone 9-1 in their last 10. And when you're in the hole they were in, you have to get every win. So even now, they're 3 losses ahead of the Clippers with 11 games to go. Like, they probably should be fine. They have a difficult schedule, but, we'll see how it goes. And it starts with this game tonight in Indy. I think this is a pretty big game. If they can get this win, gets a pretty good team on the road, that'll help them, I think, quite a bit. But Indiana, if you're a team that's struggling on defense and giving up a lot of threes, don't want to be playing this Pacers team, which is absolutely on fire. And now it's Tyrese Halliburton back.
So the Pacers have won 7 out of 8 coming into this game. And I just want to highlight the play of Aaron Nesmith, who was really proven to be a really valuable player during their run last year in the playoffs. And yes, Siakam and Halliburton get the headlines, and Halliburton during this stretch, I think he's averaged like 12 assists a game.
And basically no turnovers too.
Right. You're right. 1 turnover per game, 12-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's pretty good where I come from. Nesmith, during this stretch of games, he's played in 7 of the 8 games. He's averaging 16 points, shooting 56% from the field and 57% on 3. And we know how important he is defensively. And again, you can make fun of me in these 8 games. And I know an 8-game stretch is tight. It doesn't mean everything. Guess where the Pacers rank on defense?
Gonna guess high.
Third.
Third. There you go.
Third best defensive team over this 8-game stretch in the league. That's how you put wins together. Sorry, McMahon.
Well, and look, Rick Carlisle is a brilliant basketball mind. Luka Doncic certainly knows that. They had their personality clashes, well documented in The Wonder Boy, Luka Doncic and the Curse of Greatness. By the way,
you the word personality clash is doing a lot of work there. You go into pretty good.
No, I go into detail, and Jamal Mosley, who you saw his post-game conversation with Luka last night, was, kind of had to save the ship, and then led to all kinds of internal drama. Whatever. It's kind of interesting, this tour for Luka, Mosley, and then Rick. But point being, Rick is as good as any coach in the league at identifying your defensive weaknesses and exploiting them. And it's a tough game for a struggling defense to get well against, because Rick is great at it. Tyrese Halliburton, as an extension of Rick and just as a brilliant basketball mind and talent himself, is great at it. They play fast. They spread you out. They're tough. And look, the Lakers, man, it's amazing they were that good defensively for as long as they were, because they are overcoming major, major personnel challenges. Give JJ Redick credit for team, and give him credit for motivation to get these guys to play as hard as they were, because they don't have a real rim protector. Luka has, when he's engaged, he can be an effective scheme defender, help defender, but obviously he's going to be challenged on the perimeter. LeBron was playing awesome defense, but he's 40 years old now, coming back off of a groin. Austin Reeves, like Luka, is going to have some challenges, although he's not you can attack